Hey there, welcome into Cronkite Sports Live. I'm Spencer Hardenbergh alongside my man Braiden Bell and Braiden. We had fall break this week. ASU had an off day this week. A lot of people, I bet, were thinking we were lazy this weekend, but you and I know that was not the case, was it?
No days off here. No sleeping in, no lazy days, nothing happened like that. But anyways, about that football team, a bye week gave them a chance to kind of regroup on their off week, and that also gave us a chance to look back on the season that has been so far. 5 games played for ASU so far this season, and of course, the season started out with New Mexico State, a game against the Aggies in which the Sun Devils really struggled in. Only a 6-point win, and that was not pleasing to many fans. Manny Wilkins had 300 yards passing. That was a positive, but he was also sacked 7 times. A huge problem for Arizona State, and if fans thought that was disappointing, wait till the next week. Of course, that was San Diego State. They were honoring head coach Frank Kush, and it was the Rashad Penny show. The young man from San Diego State put up 353 total yards of offense, and SDSU upset Arizona State, giving the Sun Devils their first loss of the season. After the loss to SDSU, they went on the road for the first week to take on Texas Tech, and the Maroon and Gold, they battled hard. They did a good job coming back from an early deficit, an 18-point deficit, ultimately could not make it up as Texas Tech had 615 yards of total offense in that win over ASU. With their backs against the wall, the 1-2 Sun Devils returned home with a ranked team waiting for them. That, of course, was the Oregon Ducks. It led to the biggest win of the season so far. ASU's offense, defense, and, of course, special teams. You see Brandon Ruiz there kicking the game-winning field goal to beat Oregon 37-35. And then, of course, last week against Stanford, ASU came into the game 1-0 in conference play. Could not pull it off, though, in large part due to Bryce Love and 2 Manny Wilkins interceptions. So that's where we sit now after 5 games, Arizona State with a 2-3 record.
Now focusing on the future, ASU is looking ahead to the Washington game this weekend, so we're going to do the same. For a little help on that, we welcome in WCSN football analyst Jack Harris. Jack, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Spence.
So like I said, ASU was off a bye week. They were able to prepare and rest some injuries that were plaguing them.
Yeah, well, the big one is to quarterback Manny Wilkins. Remember, he had that foot injury against Stanford. He was in sneakers during practices last week, but he was back looking good this week, looking healthy. He'll be ready to go Saturday. Another guy who'll be back for the Sun Devils is wide receiver John Humphrey. He had that knee injury in non-conference play, but he looks like he will be available as well as a deep threat for the Sun Devil offense. Defensively, they lost Karan Crump for the season, their leading pass rusher. So Alani Latu is going to move out to the Devil linebacker position as the main pass rusher coming off the edge. He was playing on the defensive line, so in his spot, look for guys like Rennell Wren and George Lee to step in against Washington this Saturday.
They're definitely going to need all the help they can get against number 4 Washington, who were competing for a college football playoff spot last year. Jack, how have they been so successful these past few seasons?
Oh, it's the same formula each year for them. If you look at, they're returning most of the guys they had on that team last year that won the Pac-12, that got to the playoff. You see their stats right here. They are one of the most dominant teams in the country on both sides of the football, with a guy like Jake Browning leading as a Heisman candidate last season. He's got over 1,400 yards so far this year, 14 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions. Myles Gaskin is a monster of a running back, and we know how ASU has struggled with rushers this season. And then defensively, there's a lot of depth on their defensive line and in their pass rush. ASU struggled to protect Wilkins this season, and Washington's going to come to Tempe with 4 guys who already have at least 2 sacks this season.
Great numbers all around from the Huskies, and there's a reason they blew out ASU last year. But before that, I mean, this whole millennium, it's been all ASU.
Oh, yeah. The Tempe has been a tough place for Washington to come play. Sun Devil Stadium has been a house of horrors for them. If you look at their most recent results here, that's 6 wins in a row for the Sun Devils. A big reason why? Defense. ASU has not given up more than 24 points in any of those wins over Washington in Tempe. Some great performances mixed in there as well. They held Bishop Sankey in 2013 to only 22 total rushing yards. And in 2009, Danny Sullivan had that famous 50-yard Hail Mary touchdown pass at the end of the game. There's been some good mojo historically for the Sun Devils against Washington, but the Huskies are probably the most talented team ASU is going to see this season. They're going to need more of that on Saturday.
And hopefully for us watching the game, the excitement will continue. Jack Harris, ladies and gentlemen, you can check out all of his content on cronkitesports.com.
The ASU volleyball team couldn't snap their losing streak at home against the LA schools. The Sun Devils have now lost 6 straight games since entering Pac-12 play. Joining me to break down the recent struggles of the volleyball team is analyst Troy Tasher. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Braiden.
All right, so let's start with the UCLA game over this past weekend. What were the struggles that you noted from that game?
Well, I think the big takeaway I had from that game is that the Sun Devils are just not where they need to be on the defensive end. Madeline Gates, especially one of UCLA's best players, was especially good at playing the gaps on offense and making ASU players dive for the ball and throw them out of their rotation. And the problem is that ASU ended up in a just get the ball over the net kind of mode, and in the Pac-12, that kind of mindset just doesn't get you where you want to go. So defensively, I saw the biggest flaw is just because the Sun Devils were running around a lot, and head coach Sanya Tomasevich said she'd rather have too many players going for the ball than not enough, and that's fair, but still it caused a lot of problems for the Sun Devils and ultimately cost them the game.
All right, so defense was the problem against UCLA. Now let's move over to the other game this past weekend, of course, USC. What did you see in that game?
Well, the USC game is an interesting one because if you look at the stat sheet, it almost might come as a surprise that the Sun Devils lost. They, in many ways, played a much cleaner game. They had fewer attack errors, fewer service errors, more service aces, and these are all areas where they've struggled to exceed their opponents' numbers in the past, but they did it in this game, and it feels almost like they should have won. But what really cost them in that one was that USC had far more kills and far more attack opportunities overall, and when you're playing against that high volume of an offense, it's really hard to match up. So even though the Sun Devils played in some ways a better and cleaner game, there were just too many attacks they had to face, and they ultimately couldn't hold on.
All right, so now, like we mentioned, 0-6 in Pac-12 play, not the start this team wanted to get out to. What do you see them doing for the rest of the season? Well,
it's interesting because you don't want to give up on a season, and I certainly don't think that's what they're going to do knowing this team. They're going to play hard, and they're going to continue to gun for wins and continue to work hard however they can. But in the end, this season does look like a tough one, but they can still use it for development, and they have a lot of good young players. Nicole Peterson and Shelby Dobmeyer are both freshman setters, and they have a lot of potential. Greer Hughes is a freshman as well, and she's a great weapon on offense for them. Ivana Jeremic is a sophomore, and she might be the second best offensive player on the team. So this season is really about development. It's about teaching good habits and building a good system. And the coaching staff has talked about how this is definitely a rebuilding year, and they're not really under pressure to win that much. And that's really good for them because it means they don't have to stress out about the future. They can instead take a patient approach and build a more sustainable and better constructed team going forward.
All right, Troy, thanks for the insight as always. To keep up with the volleyball team all season long, head over to CronkiteSports.com.
The beginning of the season was one filled with hope for Arizona State women's soccer team. A new team, a new season, a new chance to improve on their 1-9-1 Pac-12 record from last season. However, many things are easier said than done. The ladies have been outscored 11-1 in their last 3 games, all against ranked opponents. 2 of those games were against number 1 UCLA and number 6 USC and happened over the weekend.
Coming off a tough weekend away, Arizona State faced some of the best teams in the country on their home turf. On Thursday, October 5th, the Sun Devils faced the UCLA Bruins while also paying tribute to breast cancer and some even taking a knee during the national anthem. In the 18th minute, the Bruins made their way through the Arizona State defense in order to put their team ahead. After the second half, starting goalkeeper Nikki Panis had to come out due to injuries. However, it would not be easy for sub Megan Delaney, who narrowly missed a penalty kick her first few minutes into the game. Soon after, the Bruins made another attack, hitting off both the outside post and Delaney, but they were still able to finish the ball into the net. Coach Graham Winkworth had this to say after the 3-0 loss.
Yeah, I thought the team competed physically. I think they really did. They're an extremely athletic team. They might not be the biggest team in the world, but that doesn't mean they're not athletic. UCLA have got a lot of athletes. I think every one of their players that probably played today is on some sort of national team, one shape or the other. And for our team to compete in large spells of that match, and I think I'm really proud of the girls' efforts, and they can hold their heads high because they didn't quit, and that's what I'm most proud of today.
After fighting with the number 1 team in the nation, ASU fell 3-0 against UCLA. However, despite their loss, they looked forward to their game on Sunday against number 6 USC. On Sunday, October 8th, Nikki Panis was not dressed out for the game, which meant Megan Delaney would get a chance to start. The Sun Devils started the first half strong as Gemma Purfield weaved through defenders and shot a goal in the first 10 minutes of the game, putting ASU ahead 1-0. After a USC defender received a red card, Angela Boyle had an opportunity at a free kick, however could not capitalize. In the second half, Boyle tripped an offensive attack which landed her a red card. USC then had a chance at a free kick and tied the game up. 10 minutes later, a cross from USC midfielder allowed for a clear shot of the goal, which Trojan Amanda Rooney took and placed the ball in the top right corner. Obviously disappointed at the turn the game took for ASU, Winkworth said.
And when it was 11 versus 11 and a good game of soccer, I believe we were in control of the match, but some decisions were made to eject 2 players, not make it about the players, and then the game changed completely. So, it was just disappointing, but I am so proud of my team's effort today because we just, gave the number 6 team in the nation and the national champions. I mean, if you watch that game and you didn't know who was the national champions from last year going in, I don't think you could tell the difference.
After losing to both USC and UCLA, ASU plans on regrouping and refocusing all their efforts towards Oregon next week. Reporting from Tempe, I'm Serena Raboyne, Cronkite Sports.
College basketball is almost back in the Valley of the Sun, and the feeling around ASU basketball program is different than in years past. Head coach Bobby Hurley finally has a roster that has both talent and depth. Returnees like Trey Holder and Shannon Evans will bring experience and leadership, while newcomers Romello White and Kamani Lawrence are sure to bring a presence down low. The talented roster can be seen for the first time on Friday night when they take the floor on Mill Avenue for the 2nd annual Mill Madness event.
We now welcome in WCSN men's hockey analyst Gabe Mercer. Gabe, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Spencer.
So the first weekend, what stood out to you during that opening weekend for Sun Devil hockey?
Now, Spencer, to me, what basically got the win in the first game for the Sun Devils over UMass Amherst was the line pairing of the 3 captains, Dylan Holman, Anthony Croston, and Louis Rowe. Now, these 3 captains are used to playing with each other. As you can see on the board, their stats just perfectly lined up for this team in the first game, combining for 2 goals and 6 assists. Now, last season, in just 17 games, they combined for 17 goals and 26 assists. Louis Rowe commented that by now these 3 players just are used to playing with each other, and they don't really have to give each other tips at this point. They just know where they're going to be on the ice. So looking forward to the rest of the season, these 3 guys are definitely what's going to help carry these Sun Devils to the next level.
It will be a fun season, and with a new program like this, everyone is always wondering about the young players. So what freshmen have stood out to you so far?
One freshman to keep an eye on is Johnny Walker. Johnny has been committed since 2015 to this team. He's a Phoenix native, so he's ready to play here, excited to be here. He noted after the first exhibition game 2 weekends ago that this is just where he wanted to be. He knew he wanted to commit here. He was ready to come here. And this past weekend against UMass, he got his first collegiate goal. So looking forward to the rest of the season. Johnny Walker will definitely be someone to keep an eye on.
He definitely will. And now, last question for you. What has stood out from Sun Devil goaltending thus far?
Now, we have 3 goaltenders this season, 1 newbie, Mike DePhillips, to add on to Rylan Pashevitz and Joey Decord. Now, Powers has made it clear that Joey Decord is going to be his go-to this season. He started this past weekend against UMass Amherst. And one thing to note about Decord is he's a bigger guy, over 6 foot. But what a good thing to note about him is he's able to move around in the box. He's quick on his feet. He knows where to be. And this past weekend was able to rack up 46 saves, only allowing 6 goals. So it's clear that he has a little bit of room to improve, but so far this past weekend, great from Decord so far.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Gabe. You can check out all of men's hockey's content on cronkitesports.com. Now we're going to keep it on the ice, but check out the state of the other hockey team on campus, the women's team. Here's WCSN's women's hockey coverage team after the game on Saturday with Oceanside After Dark.
Welcome into Oceanside After Dark here at Oceanside Arena after the Sun Devil women's club hockey team fell to the Colorado Buffaloes 5-3. I'm joined here by WCSN women's hockey beat writers Liesl Babica and Michael Gutnick to talk about what happened in today's game. So Liesl, I'll start with you. The Sun Devils came out strong in the first period, scoring 2 goals. What was working right for them?
They were really pushing forward in the net, and they were making the defense for Colorado Boulder have mistakes, and I think that really helped them. And they took the shots, even though the one was from almost the blue line. It went in, and that's sometimes all you need. Even though Colorado Boulder was dominating offensively during that first period, I think that was great that they got those opportunities.
Now, moving into the second period, things started to fall apart for the Sun Devils. Colorado tacked on 4 goals in that second period. What changed after the first period for Colorado?
CU Boulder starting to play aggressively. As you said, they scored 4 goals. 3 of them came from Mara Kiefter for the Buffalo. And really what happened is that they started to get more offensive attacks in the offensive zone. And they got a lot of shots on goal and cleaner passes on Jordan Ashbold.
Now, I'll ask the both of you this. Moving forward, the Sun Devils host Colorado State this upcoming weekend. What do they need to change from their game plan this past weekend in order to execute and potentially pull off some wins?
Honestly, they need to get more shots on net. They only had about 16 shots on net in tonight's game, and that doesn't win you games. You need to push, and put those in the back of the net and make those defensives have mistakes and the goalie have mistakes. And I think that moving forward, if they can get goals in the back of the net, they will win games.
One thing that ASU needs to work on is get more pucks in the net and create more scoring opportunities down low, and also jump up on the rushes, as we saw in the first game of the series for Arizona State.
This has been Oceanside After Dark. I'm Nick Batters. Thank you, Liesl. Thank you, Michael. The Sun Devils host Colorado State this upcoming weekend with games both Friday and Saturday. Reporting in Tempe from Oceanside Arena, I'm Nick Batters, Cronkite Sports.
Oceanside After Dark. That has quite the ring.
It does have. I was very intrigued.
It's my new favorite segment here on this show. All right.
Besides this one,
of course, yeah. And this segment it's time for Sun Devil Social Media, a segment where we're going to review this past week on Twitter. We welcome in our social media examiner, Paige Burnell. Paige, thanks for coming on. What happened this week in social media?
Well, football had a bye week, but there's no rest for the wicked people on Twitter. So of course there was some football. We have number 7, Mr. Kalen Balazs, rocking the black jersey from last season because ASU has its blackout game this weekend. So very exciting.
Everyone gave Manny Wilkins a lot of props for his hurdles last year, but this personally I think was the most impressive.
I'm with you there. Plus he has a blackout jersey on, so I mean, how could you beat that?
How do you look bad?
Style points. Yeah.
Black always looks good.
And then we also have 2 members of the new 3K club. So number 26 and number 27, Mr. Kalen Balazs and Demario Richard. So you gotta love that. Really nice. They can still get those individual accomplishments no matter what.
This tandem does not get enough respect, I think. I mean, these are 2 studs, some of the best running backs in the Pac-12 on the same team.
Not at all. It's good. It's good to see Richard back, and they are, when they're healthy, man, they are very, very unstoppable.
Excited to see them this weekend. And finally, I couldn't come on here without a little bit of hockey.
Of course.
I just couldn't. And really good for them. They've had a ton of support so far from the students, and of course, 942 crew has put that out with a baseball metaphor, which I don't think I'm okay with, but it's okay. It's all right.
People love their Sun Devil hockey. I've talked to a few people that didn't really enjoy the game beforehand. They went, watched an ASU game, and now they love hockey.
Yeah, I mean,
it's working.
We talked to Gabe earlier, as she said, it's a very bright future for this team. So
it really is.
It'll be a fun season to watch. Paige, thank you very much. Great stuff.
Thank you, guys.
Now we're going to send it on over to our very own Bobby Krause, who's going to update us on the ASU men's baseball team.
Thanks, guys. With the Diamondbacks season ending over the weekend, it's a perfect time to take a look at the second most popular baseball team in the Valley, the Arizona State Sun Devils. The 2018 non-conference schedule has been released, and there will be some familiar foes awaiting the maroon and gold as they tune up for Pac-12 play. The team opens the season on Friday, February 16th, with 4 games against Miami of Ohio, including a doubleheader on Saturday the 17th. The first road trip will take the team to Long Beach, California, for a 2-game midweek series on February 27th and 28th against the Dirtbags, a regional host from last season. A couple days later, the team will host Oklahoma State. The last time ASU had any success against the Cowboys was on opening night 2015, when Colby Woodmansey's walk-off home run ushered in ASU's return to Phoenix Municipal Stadium. Pepperdine, UNC Wilmington, and a matchup in Phoenix against the Arizona Wildcats on March 13th rounds out the slate of games before Pac-12 play begins. With multiple tournament teams from 2017 on the schedule, both home and away, Tracy Smith and company should be primed to take on the vaunted Pac-12 as they attempt to make a return to the NCAA tournament and advance past a regional for the first time since 2011. That's all from me. Braiden and Spencer, take it away.
Thanks, Bobby. Now it's time for The Way It Is. Now, this traditional segment got a little bit of a makeover last week. Change up now. It's going to be 3 questions, and then we're going to debate what we think. And then our director back in the studio will decide who had the best arguments. You ready to go? A
little friendly competition. Let's do it. Huh?
All right. So number 1, we're going to go onto the hardwood here and talk ASU men's basketball. What's a realistic expectation for this team this year?
Well, I think they're a lot improved from last year. I'm looking at the NIT tournament. I don't think they'll make it all the way to the big dance, but NIT, I think they should make it there this season.
I've got 20 wins for this team. Should be the goal, and finishing in the top half of the Pac-12. And if they do that, they could be dancing come March. Who knows?
They could. If 20 wins could definitely get them there. It'll be a fun season. Now, the volleyball team, they're currently 0-6 in Pac-12 play. When are they going to finally get a Pac-12 win this season?
I know Colorado's a popular pick, but I'm going to go ahead and wait an extra week until they go on the road to Oregon State. The Beavers have struggled this year, and I think ASU will come out strong in Corvallis.
You know, you spoiled mine. I'm following the masses. I'm following the masses. Colorado, they're coming off 2 losses against Washington and Washington State. They're at ASU. So I think that Colorado will lose, and ASU will finally get that one win.
All right, and then last one, we've noted it a few times throughout the show. It's the blackout for Arizona State football this weekend against Washington. That brings up our favorite football uniforms that ASU wears, because they have quite a few combinations. What's your favorite?
You know, there are a lot to choose from. I'm going with Desert Hammer. All right,
okay.
I'm a sucker for gray jerseys and those gray matte helmets. Beautiful.
Okay,
beautiful.
I'm going to stick with a desert theme because I like those as well, but I'm going with the Desert Chrome. The ones they wore against Oregon last year. Shiny, matched the uniforms and the pants. It just looked great. Always got to look good when you play Oregon.
The whole desert. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You got to try to at least outclass them.
All right, so we'll see who wins here. It's going to be tough.
I need a win.
You do need a win. I almost am rooting for you.
I'm well due.
Yeah, you are due. You're 0-2 on the
year. Oh yeah. No, it's about time.
Awaiting the decision. It's clearly tough. Oh, sorry, man. Another L for you. I'm so sorry. All
next week. I keep saying next week, but next week.
The issue I'm addressing today is about late start times around the Pac-12. Many coaches around the Pac have complained in the past, but Washington head coach Chris Peterson's comments recently made a national traction. Kirk Herbstreit said that Pac-12 coaches shouldn't complain about 8 p.m. start times, but instead they should be thanking ESPN for having a relationship with the Pac-12. Okay. Sorry, Kirk, but you're just wrong. To put it frankly, 8 p.m. kickoffs, they suck. Most of all, players, coaches, fans, stadium employees, heck, even media. Everyone hates late start times, and anyone that has an actual role in a live game hates them as well. But oh yeah, time to be grateful. Herbstreit's argument is that the so-called exposure of an ESPN game that starts at 11 p.m. on the East Coast is greater than a late afternoon kickoff on ESPN2 or Fox Sports 1. I think that's wrong, but who knows? Maybe droves of folks on the East Coast are staying up until the wee hours of the morning watching Pac-12 football. I'll let you guys decide on that. Unfortunately, the sad reality is this. Nothing will change. College athletics are all about money, and with a $3 billion TV deal, the Pac-12 is at the mercy of the networks its games are shown on. So get ready for more late nights, Pac-12 fans, because that change isn't coming anytime soon. And sadly, that's the way it is.
Top plays. Let's roll them. Let's head on over to women's volleyball. ASU versus USC. A block by Ivana Yermich and Carmen Unthway up front to win that set against USC. The girls have been great up front. A lot of height, a lot of strength there. Great block, ladies.
All right, let's head over some college hockey now as ASU is taking on UMass. Number 2 play of the week is a goal by Louis Rowe. An impressive shot between the pipes to put ASU on the board. One of his 2 goals of that game, that is, for Louis Rowe and the Sun Devils, and a big win over Massachusetts. I know you got ties there.
Hey, I'm from Mass, big hockey state. Good win for ASU. And number 1, who else would it be besides Gemma Perfield? Seems like she is just a human highlight this season. A goal against USC, putting it right by the keeper. She just does not stop, refuses to quit all year, and she has been a bright spot on a struggling ASU women's soccer team.
The bright spot.
The bright spot.
Soccer team. She's been great. And as far as this show, I'd say everyone was kind of a bright spot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty good show, I'd say.
Per usual, right?
But for Spencer Hardenbergh, I'm Braiden Bell. We will be back same time, same place next week. It'll be Eliot Goodbye, Chaz Frazier in the chairs. But until then, we will see you next time. Thanks for watching Cronkite Sports Live.